Hi there, and welcome to this episode of the Everyday Millionaire Mindset Matters podcast, where I'm joined by my wife, Olympic mental performance coach, Steffany Hanlon-Francie. In these episodes, Steffi and I have a conversation about the different aspects of what we refer to as Mindset Matters, because we believe that for those who are awake, we are living in and through the most impactful time in history. Your view of the world is the filter for how you will experience the evolution and changing dynamics of it. Our intention is to provide you with ideas, nutritious food for thought, and some tools that you can use to help you in being your greatest self and living your best life. Listen in, enjoy. Hey folks, welcome to the Everyday Millionaire Mindset Matters. Steffany.
Hey, Han.
Hey, we're kicking off with a great topic today, and we've titled it The Courage to Be a Champion. Now, there's a number of what you refer to as the C's. So I think it went from the 15 C's. I think actually it started at the 12 C's, then it went to the 15 C's, and then it's at the 19 C's. The point is there's a lot of parts to having the courage to be a champion. And we faced some stuff recently, some realizations that we had of our own.
Well, we sure did. And entering the theme of our year, clarity, it's also a C, equals velocity, has really given me the opportunity to look at where I'm not clear and where I've been dropping balls or where I've been entering the overwhelm of the last few months with all the changes. Of course, also change management is the ability to see what's coming at you, being able to, juggle things and then still have the clarity to move forward in the direction of your goals. So over the last week, especially when I hit the wall around overwhelm, I had to really surrender and go back and use my tools. And a good friend of mine said, why don't you go and listen to your podcasts? I said, which one? It was any of them. I went, oh yeah, good point. Because as any human being, I go into overwhelm as well. I'm juggling quantum speed and and now we've got Think Tank coming up and we've got our home and all the changes that are going on in our home and our chosen family and people moving away and people coming. And I just had to reconnect to what matters, and I always say that I can't be what I don't, or I can't coach what I'm not. Right. So I have to go back, recheck in, and then, slow everything down and, re-enter a conversation where I'm clear so that I can actually gain the velocity and the momentum to keep moving.
Well, I think that, it's interesting that this showed up for us. And I think it's kind of cool that you pull out this courage to be a champion worksheet and the stuff that we do, because what we came to realize is that, we're often talking to clients or having conversations with people that are in overwhelm. Yet we're no different. We have life. We have things that are happening, things that are changing. But here's what is interesting, I think, in this realization, which is that the overwhelm comes from a couple things. First off, we look at the top of the mountain and we can be overwhelmed by the sheer height of that mountain that we feel we have to climb, rather than just breaking it down, going next step, next step, next step. That's part of it. The other part that shows up in terms of overwhelm, which is what we got to, is that when you have change going on in your life, it can be overwhelmed, because success lives in, and we've talked a lot about habits, we've talked about discipline. Within habits, within discipline, are systems, is processes of doing things. I mean, we talk a lot within the real estate investment network of buying and investing in real estate. You follow a process. There is a system. You set yourself up to succeed by following the system. And that plays into habits. It plays into discipline. Here's my point, is that when you have those things in place and they change, some of which you can control, but there are things you can't control. And ultimately that will overwhelm you, because now you're having to react, you're having to shift what you were doing and recreate. And in the recreation is the transition of one to another. So let's just give an example that we're faced with and that we found ourselves faced with. To your point, you've got a lot going on with quantum speed. We just celebrated the 40th anniversary of Pro Skate. So we're flying in and out of Edmonton. We've got Think Tank coming up. We have a change in terms of our own household. We have a lot of chosen family, which were also support mechanisms for us. They're all moving on to other parts of the province. And so, like, our whole life right now is kind of feels a little chaotic and blown up. And oh, by the way, along the way, there's still our businesses that we have to operate. There's still things that we have to deliver on for our clients, and there's still content to produce, and again, expectations to meet. So all of that feels a little chaotic. And so as you were sitting down this morning, you're going, holy shit, I realize why I'm feeling overwhelmed. And it's not the volume per se, it is the fact that it's change. We had a system, we had the environment, we had created the culture, and it's like, okay, well, that worked for a while. Now it's time to blow that shit up. And boom. So you realize that when we're working with clients, how often it's those scenarios that people are bumping up against, or the reluctance to having or creating that scenario.
Yeah, it's so interesting. A change is something that I've always welcomed. I'm not afraid of change, and I've always seen the opportunities that come from when one door closes and another door opens. And my whole line back in the day used to be, people always say, you ought to think outside the box. And my line that I trademarked, it was, what box?
Mm-hmm.
What if there are no boxes? So I'm having to bump into a lot of the theories and the kind of the landmark statements that I've come up with over the last few years. And as I go through this particular change, what I'm realizing is that I really loved how things were. And I could have maybe stayed status quo going forward. But because we chose this for Think Tank and for the year, for us as our theme, clarity equals velocity, is I think that clarity is what removes some of the clutter and the things that were in the way of the velocity. So now not only am I removing, and we are removing a lot of the clutter, or some of the people that we were relying on are moving on for the right reasons in their own lives. It's not like they're gone forever. They're just a phone call away, I hope. But ultimately, we're left with our own vision, our own goals again. And now we get to reset. We need to regroup and move forward. But what I'm finding with clients right now is that what's in the way of their goals or their velocity or the things that they want in their outcomes is the lack of clarity. And I'm seeing it as we're kind of pre-think tank, is that there's sometimes that the clutter and the lack of clarity is comforting for people. They'd rather stay in the motion of it than actually move into the discomfort of clarity. So that's what I believe I've been going through. And really, I want to embrace the clutter, embrace the letting go, embrace the chaos so that I can navigate through it, because I really believe where we're going next, Hun, is on a line of clarity equals velocities, values to vision. This is our journey, but we have to keep doing the work ourselves. And that's what I really found over the last month.
Yeah, what we've embraced over the years, it is values to vision. So we're always looking and checking in with our values. Are we aligned with the values? Are we aligned with what it is that we're trying to achieve? I love the topic in this case, or the title/theme of this podcast, which is the courage to be a champion. Because this body of work, this willingness to go through the chaos, is not for the faint of heart. It is sometimes stressful, depending on how you hold it or how we hold it. But I think you said it really well is this morning as well, when we're having that conversation. You go, it always reminds me of when we're doing spring cleaning, or we're cleaning the house or whatever. It's like, it's got to get really messy sometimes before it gets straightened out. It's like you got to blow shit up to look at what you're going to do. Paul Stoltz, a friend of ours that we worked with for many years, shares that example of when you're doing a spring clean of the garage. What do? You take and you pull everything out of the garage and you lay it out on the lawn, and then you clean out the garage. Maybe you paint the walls, wash the floor, you put some shelving in place, and then you go, okay, what are we putting back in the garage, and what are we tossing or given to a charity, or what are we going to sell at a garage sale? But the point is that when everything gets put back together, it's what you want, where you want it, you can see it, you have a view of it, and then you can carry forward. That takes work, that takes effort, it takes thought. And I think in the way we look at life and what we do, whether it be in our businesses or our careers, our real estate, whatever it might be, it takes courage to say, this isn't okay the way it is now. We want to change it. And then the other side of it is some of what's come at us is not our choice. It would be like we were really comfortable. Like it was like really cool to have all of these resources to support us. And it was good for everybody. Let's be really clear. But, people have life, they have their life and they move on. And then, oh shit, we're at the effect of that. And that's not to make it wrong. It's only to say is, okay, now we have to adjust. And these are big adjustments. I think, at least I look at it and go, given where we are in life and business, these are big adjustments to take on.
Yeah, they really are. And I actually just want to point out that one of the C's in the courage to be a champion isn't comfort.
Yeah.
And it's, the other one, it isn't certainty either. There's no comfort or certainty in the courage to be a champion. So if we want to go through the list or want to just pull out a couple of them, what's your thoughts?
Well, why don't we list off? Okay, I'll do a quick list of 15. So live with me here or bear with me and I'll go through it. I won't speed through it, but I'll also go quick enough that it makes sense. So the first C that we have on our list is to create. So it's to create your reality. The next one is to compete, which is play to win. Courage, tell the truth. And that's interesting. Today would be for some courageous. You had the courage when you sat down and go, holy shit, I'm feeling overwhelmed. But then we took it and do what we always do, break it down to go, okay, what does that mean? Okay, got it. Oh, well, let's do a podcast about it. Okay, character. Character is an intention of aiming high, developing character, being aware. That is self-awareness. Clarity, crystal clear. And there isn't a day goes by that we don't work towards a next level of clarity, because there's always something to be clear, to get clear about, whether it's personally, professionally, with your team, with your significant other, whatever that might be. Confidence. So this is an interesting one in the courage to be a champion, is be faithful to your training. And I would add to that, trust the process, because There is a process. And we use that term often, trust the process.
I break down the word confidence because many people still think it's a feeling that you're going to do certain things and all of a sudden you're going to feel confident, or you're a parent and you want your child to do well and you just say, well, just go in with confidence, write the exam with confidence. But we don't know what that is. So back in the day, I broke it down and took the middle out. The root of the word confidence is FID, F-I-D. And FID is the root of the word fidelity. And that's how I got to be faithful. Fidelity means to be faithful to your training, to your plan, your outcome. So that's why when I'm reframing things and breaking things down, as you say, in the courage to be a champion, is confidence is something that's usually at the top of everybody's list. They want to, go and compete with confidence, but then they step back because they haven't basically built the resilience muscles that they need to be faithful to their training. So I just wanted to define that a bit more.
That's such a big topic. We can almost unpack that one in a total podcast. So confidence, I've used the phrase many times. One of my favorite is that confidence is rarely owned. It's often borrowed. And, that's where coaches come into play. That's where language comes into play. Parents, and this is only because it's recently come up, with your children, it is as simple as you as the parent saying to one of your kids, you got this. That's it. That's all you need to say. And the power of that phrase, you got this, to anyone, and in this case, I'm using your kids as an example, is so powerful. Would you not agree?
I agree. To me, 100%. So that was one of the founding values when we started building our Quantum Speed, and then moving forward to build Ice Academy Montreal, is that we wanted to be able to get to a point where everybody was looking at their own career in their own lane, and having the courage and the confidence and the commitment to move their lives forward, to the point where I will say that I'm just trying to put myself out of a job. If I can get you to a point where you can just step onto the podium and you know that you did this because you got this, this is your medal, this is your championship. I'm not going to be on the top of the podium with you, but my job is to help you navigate the things that are in the way, the incompletions, the things that are pulling you away from your goals. So that's why it's so important to me.
Beautiful. I love it. Okay. Composure. So stay positive. And beyond stay positive, it's stay composed. When shit is hitting the fan, or the yogurt's hitting the fan, however you want to phrase it, is having the awareness and I guess I'm going to say in some regard, the emotional capacity, or the EQ, the emotional quotient, to remain composed. What do you want to add to that?
This one I really struggled with these last few months, or a few weeks at least, when all the change started to really hit me and what the impact was. Of course, we've got a wedding coming up at the end of the month in Hawaii, and we don't have dog care. And so with all of these things were happening all at the same time. And I'm so grateful that we have a circle around us that I can lose my composure when it comes to that, or I can freak out or have a moment of meltdown and go, okay, I just needed to have a little meltdown and I can put myself back together. But because I understand what it takes and the courage it takes to move through and be a change agent and be a leader when it comes to navigating chaos, is that I can get through it quickly. I don't hold it in as much. I don't keep it in and kind of ruminate or let it build up, because to me, that's what builds the opportunity for dis-ease or disease, is keeping all that stuff inside. But at one point, to be honest, I just wasn't very positive. I didn't have the composure. I did when I went out into the public or went to the shopping mall or you know, because I had a place to deal with it. So I really am grateful for the people that allowed me to have that little meltdown, but understand that composure, especially under stress, it is a trained thing. And with the athletes that I work with, when things come down the road, or the clients, when, like you say, the yogurt hits the fan and they get a microphone shoved in their face, they have the composure in that moment because they built that muscle.
Well, I think it's so critical, and both you and I are very good at maintaining our composure. I think I'm a little better than you are. I think I do lose my composure with you. Like, that's the space that if I'm going to lose my composure, it's going to be with you, as in that's my space. So
Push your buttons too, right?
well, because you pissed me off. So the point of it is, in you listening to this, is that it's not that we don't lose our composure, because we do, but we also have a time and a place, and we are very good, given how much public stuff we've done over the years and what we do. So, but that is trained, is maintaining composure even when the proverbial yogurt is hitting the fan. Okay, closure. Finish what you start. That goes back to many podcasts that we've talked about incompletions, but that is one aspect of being complete. So closure, finish what you start. Having some class, this is respect yourself and respect others. And there's all sorts of ways you could define class, but bring it into your awareness of what is the environment that you're entering and how will you show up. It's often great to enter an environment that you may feel a little uncomfortable with, and you up your game. Don't try and bring the environment down to where you want it to be. It's like, are you wearing Crocs or are you going to put on a pair of dress shoes? That's,
Yeah, honoring the environment. Like, I remember last year when we went to the PVD house, he said, number one, no flip-flops. He was very clear.
Or Crocs.
Or Crocs. That's right. He did say that. Well, what's interesting about that, when we talk about class and respect, it's really about, do you respect yourself enough to understand that the environment that you may be going into is an up-level environment? If you're demanding that I don't have to change, or I don't have to wear, dress shoes, I can wear my Crocs wherever I want, it's all about me, it really doesn't show that level of respect or that class that you want to give to that experience. So I've had to learn a lot that I'm a North Side girl. My mom was very classy, but I was very, much a tomboy, and I didn't understand the why do I have to dress up to go to a wedding or a church? Why can't I just, show up? Why can't I just be myself in all areas? Because that's really selfish. That's what I learned, is that, I want to enter the room with a smile on my face and honor the environment that I'm in and notice first. Because if you enter the room, or I enter the room with my big boisterous personality, and it's a really calm church-like setting, that's really disrespectful. So I think class and respect are connected.
They are. Okay, credit, which means give credit where credit is due. And, good leaders, I believe, understand one fundamental thing, and that is, regardless of whatever success they may have, they don't do it alone. And while many who are maybe viewing it from the outside say, oh, he or she is amazing and they did great and they're awesome, a good leader will always remind people that behind them is somebody or a team of people that is supporting them or has supported them in having the success that they have. There's no doubt that when I look at many things that I've achieved in my life, it's easy to give credit to you because you are behind me pushing, harassing, telling
Loving.
me I got it, encouraging, all positive things.
Oh, of course. I would never do that. But what's
And when
interesting
it comes to the class part, I always like that part.
exactly.
You're not going out with that. Are you wearing that tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you wearing your shoes? No, I just
Okay.
want to I just don't want to step over this, Cowboy, because when it comes to credit, what I'm finding is that significance, for example, is one of a human nature. It's one of our highest needs is significance and being seen. So a lot of performance energy, a lot of success is really designed and pulled to people to have significance, for people to gain significance in their life, or success or money or credit or being noticed. So what I've done in this particular one is reverse it and go, once you get to that point, then it's time to understand that you did this. Yes, I got this and I'm at the top of the podium, or I'm the one that closed the deal. But then to look around and go, to your point, I didn't do this alone. But also when you acknowledge somebody, you're also acknowledging their significance. So there's a kind of a double-edged sword there when it comes to credit. Yes, I want to get credit for what I've created and what I've done, but I'm not seeking it. I don't crave it, because I know that life is a team sport. And once I get my goals, for example, then I can then get grounded and settled and go, you know what? I've achieved that. And then I can now give credit where it's due.
Yeah. I think it all boils down to is owning your success, but being and having humility in the process and understand. Because when I think back to a couple people I know that literally will say, I'm frickin' amazing. They'll state that about themselves. I am frickin' amazing. And they won't say it quite even that diplomatically. They'll be far more direct. And I'll point out to them that, yeah, that's true, but you had an amazing team. And they go, yeah, because I'm amazing. The team is amazing. I go, oh, okay, got it. Yeah. Anyways, we carry on. So credit, charisma, and that is to know yourself. And I think, being charismatic, it seems to come naturally to some people, but ultimately it is something that you practice, I believe. What's your thoughts?
I do. And there's something that we don't pay a lot of attention to is charisma. Some people automatically have the it factor, whether they're good looking or they have a really, bubbly personality, or there's something about the it factor where you just are drawn. I'm not talking about that. When I talk about charisma and know thyself, it's when you walk into a room, are you being your best self? Are you understanding that you are a vulnerable human? Are you understanding that, you're just like everybody else? We put one pant leg on at a time. And when we go into a room, are you being authentic? Right. So
Mhm.
when you think about authenticity and charisma, that's what I'm really drawn to, is somebody who just knows themselves and they go, this is just who I am, good, bad, and ugly. And I'm just so drawn to that. Same with the performance, whether it's an actor on the stage or an athlete that's really knows who they are and knows their limitations, knows what they're up for, knows what they want. To me, that's an up-leveled conversation that I would rather have, other than, oh my God, poor me, wow, wow, wow. To me, that's not charismatic at all.
Well, I think too is that, the thing about being charismatic is the ability to set people at ease when you first meet them. It's when you can have a conversation with somebody and they feel like, wow, this is really interesting to talk to you, to talk to this person, and they feel comfortable. And your ability, and that's part of charisma. They seem to say the right things, and they often that comes from making their other person that they're speaking with the center of attention. So being curious, translates to being charismatic often, right? And being able to say the right things is really about just shining a light on having the curiosity for the person or people you're talking to. Okay, completion, finding solutions, and not operating on top of incompletions. So I think completions is a big one that people choose to ignore because they don't want to deal with shit.
Well, that's the clarity, right? Like when you start to notice your incompletions, then you start to notice, what do I have to do that could possibly take me away from my goal? And I just want to point out, this is different than closure. Closure and completion are two different things. And I think people conflate them sometimes. I can close at the end of this podcast. We always close it with a certain line or whatever. Something comes to, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. That's closure. So for example, completion is something different. So if I'm not complete in a conversation that I may have had with somebody and they pass away, I'm left with that. I didn't say what I needed to say or do what I needed to do. That's an extreme example. What I can do, though, is I can write them a letter, or I can get it out into my journal and express my feelings. So that's a completion. A completion is leaving an incompletion, leaving a job undone on purpose, will turn around and bite you in the butt at the worst possible time. And I always say to the athletes is that, where are you incomplete right now? Because when you go out in the middle of the ice and all of a sudden you remember you forgot to pay your phone bill, there goes your twizzle, or there goes your slap shot, or whatever, because these things, incompletions, pop into your mind at the worst possible moment.
They do. Community, be a contribution. Whatever your community is, be a contribution, be collaborative, be aware of what's going on in your community. And then celebration, own it fully and celebrate. We have often shared about the gap and the gain, and looking at the little wins that you have along the way in your day. Focus on the wins, celebrate them the way you celebrate them. And sometimes, the owning part of it, or the celebrations, can just be saying it out loud. And that is celebratory enough in terms of owning it. And then re-choose, which is to say, do it again or not. But it's a choice, being clear of those choices, having the awareness and the understanding of what's going on. 2, re-choose. You're always there. It's always a choice. Somebody operate on the top. Somebody will. I've used this phrase before. I've even felt this way, where I don't have a choice. You know something? You do always have a choice. And you may choose something that you're not going to like the consequences, but it's always a choice.
Yeah, that's the big one. And what I call the courage to be on a champion's journey, for example, is it is a journey. And if you have the courage and the confidence and understand what it takes to be a part of a team and to use, your skills, develop yourself, and you get to the end of that particular journey and you celebrate it and it's complete, wow, you can choose or choose to not do it again. And that's the thing, is that every 4 years, there's a new quadrennial in the Olympic cycle. Many think, well, I have to keep going. I have to keep going. I have to keep going. Well, you don't. I have an exercise I call permission to quit. And it's really important when you get to the end of something and you don't know if you want to keep going, is we do a visualization, the exercise permission to quit, where we go into all what it would feel like. Who would I become if I don't have this, if I'm on a different journey, if this particular journey is fully complete for me? What could that look like? What could that feel like? And we just go all the way to the outcomes, what it could be, and vision it out and all of that. And many times they come back and say, yeah, I really do want to do it again. But the ones that choose not to, my commitment is that they don't have a big empty black hole to step into next. That there's been some seeds planted along the way on the journey, and they've had the courage to look at their life and plant those seeds along the way, so that if they do choose to end this particular phase or journey or chapter of a life, they can step in a little bit more gracefully. So when I say to do it again or not, I'm serious. And to your point, hon, we always have a choice. And I think over the last 3 or 4 years, many people thought they were pushed up into a corner and thought they didn't have choices. But ultimately, when you are on the journey of a champion, you do have a choice, and you can like the outcome or not like the outcome, and then get to a point in your life where you can re-choose again. But that's where, to your point, and if you look over your shoulder, there's that poster that you got from Cheryl for your birthday. It says, own your need. Mm-hmm. Own your need. And a lot of that has to do with choice.
It does. So as we wind down, a couple things that, these 15 C's create, compete, courage, character, clarity, confidence, composure, closure, class, credit, charisma, completion, community, celebration, choose, are all part of gaining and having the courage. And when we want to elevate, when we want our business, our careers, our life to be more, have more, when we want to elevate our game in terms of who we are as individuals, to be our greatest selves, to live our best life, takes courage. And the reason it takes courage is because it takes change. And when we live into this world of being comfortable, even though it's not delivering on what we want our life to look like, be about, whether that's relationally or in business careers, etc., it does take courage, because with change comes chaos, and many are not willing to face the chaos of change in their life because it's so darn comfortable, even if it doesn't look like you want it to look. It takes a commitment. So, any parting words, Miss Steffany?
Well, thank you for your patience to you and all our friends and family that have had the courage to support me through a little bit of chaos over the last little while and still love me through it and know that I've got this. I do know that we've got this. And as we go into the think tank weekend, for example, and we go through the eye of the needle and come out on the other side, is that I believe the people that are on the journey with us are going to be supported and prepared and given the tools they need to commit to the clarity so that they can look at the chaos, embrace the change, and be creative enough to get to the end of that particular section of their life and then choose to redo it again. Or not.
Or not. The courage to be a champion. Thank you.
That was fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. If you found value in the podcast, please take the time to rate and review and share with others. Share with your friends. As it is my goal to always improve and to provide the highest value for you, the listener. If you have any comments, suggestions, or questions you'd like answered, please email me at ceo@reincanada.com. That's ceo@reincanada.com. I look forward to hearing from you. And until next time, Patrick out.